Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. Coralie, will you wave at me when there's like 5 minutes left? Because I have a lot of slides and a lot of data, and I'm going to go really quite quickly. Apologies for that. But there's too many interesting things to tell you, and I couldn't bear to take anything out. So, my name is Helena Kosinski. I'm excited to be here. It's my first Wolofonia. I am the VP of our international business at a company called Illuminate. And I am going to throw a whole bunch of numbers at you this morning, talking about streaming, talking about consumption, content, and then because we're at a music and tech conference, I'm going to throw in some information about consumers and music and tech. So, who is Illuminate? If you haven't heard of us, we rebranded last year. We have a company that's been around for ages. We were, for a long time, part of Nielsen's music division. We do consumer research and we measure consumption metrics. US company based in, headquartered in Los Angeles, and we provide data to the Billboard charts in the US, Canada, and all around the world. And we do a lot more than that as well. And while we have been doing US charts for the last 30 years, in the last 5 years or so, we have really expanded globally, and we now have data from all around the world, including all of these markets. So data on the volume of streams, the volume of digital sales, and what music fans and consumers are doing in all of these different countries. So huge, massive data sets. And from that, we can tell a whole bunch of trends that are happening in the music industry that might be relevant to you in your various music tech businesses. So firstly, let's have a look at global streaming volumes and what is happening. So what we put here is the volume of on-demand songs, streamed audio and video streaming services coming directly from Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube. Everyone shares their data with us. What the trend that we're seeing from the first quarter of last year to the first quarter of this year, and a huge increase, 30% increase in the volume of streams, and a 23% increase in audio streaming. So streaming, unsurprisingly, is still growing in terms of the volume of streams being consumed. This year, by the 31st of March, we captured 1 trillion global audio streams, which was getting to that 1 trillion number was 4 weeks faster than it was in 2022. So huge growth and a large amount of data. Bringing it from the global picture down to Europe, what we have here is a slightly smaller growth than we're seeing globally, but still a very healthy 20% growth first quarter this year on first quarter last year across streaming services in Europe. Where is that global growth coming from? So on the left here, we've got a pie which shows of that 30% growth in global streaming year on year, 26% of that growth is coming from India. 17% of that growth is coming from the US. And then we've got Mexico, Brazil, Indonesia, and other countries. So really what you can see is it's those big, understandably, those big population countries that are accounting for a lot of that growth. On the right-hand side here is you see where the countries that have the lowest year-on-year growth so far, and they are Western European markets, so early streaming adopters. And while they're still growing quarter on quarter, we're not seeing the same levels of growth as in some of the more emerging markets. And on-demand audio streams, we're going to end this. Last year we ended at 5.2 trillion by the end of the year in terms of volume of streaming. This year we're going to end up even higher. So really, takeaway from this particular trend is there's a lot more data, a lot more streaming happening around the world, and a lot of it is coming, while it's happening in Europe, a lot of it is coming from other more emerging markets. Second trend I want to talk about quickly is non-English content. As we well know, we are in Belgium. This conference is in English. The music industry operates predominantly in English. Music creators sing in English because that is the language that most music is consumed. But we're seeing quite an interesting trend here. So we looked at the languages of songs, the top 10,000 songs in a couple of different markets. If I start on the far right with global, what we see is for the full year of 2022, 62% of the top 10,000 songs were in English. This year so far, that's dropped down to 57. Then we've got Spanish, we've got Hindi, because India makes up a huge proportion of streaming, and then Korean and Portuguese. So they're the most popular languages for music consumption. And then we took a look at some other countries. So Switzerland, similar to Belgium, a number of official languages. And there you see English is still the most popular language for music, but again, that's dropped. German has risen a little, French third. In Portugal, again, English has dropped. In the US, interestingly, English has dropped. So what we're seeing is the rise of other languages for music consumption that are growing in popularity. I think the US is a really interesting example. We've seen Spanish artists get to #1 with Bad Bunny with his #1 album. We've seen a lot of the growth of the Hispanic and the Spanish-speaking population in the US and that impact that that is having on music. And then I wanted to pull out some information from our research that we do in consumers, and I looked at France. So in France, you have a lot of music in French, you have other languages that are being consumed, and when we asked people, 30% of French music listeners say, yes, I listen to music in a language other than French. But when we dug deeper and looked at Gen Z, so that's anyone aged between 13 and 24, they are listening to French and English and Italian, but also languages like Japanese and Korean, and they're much more likely, 133% more likely to be listening to a song in Japanese than the broader French population. So the trend that we're seeing with younger listeners is that they're not just looking at countries around them or English as a foreign language of music to listen to, but looking much further afield to Japan and Korea and other languages. So much more global in their listening. Right, trend 3, the explosion of content. And this is something that has definitely been covered in the music industry and the press, but I think it warrants discussion here because we get a lot of data shared to us from music streaming services and retailers all around the world. We have 200 million ISRCs in our big global database of ISRCs, which is a lot of different tracks. And that has grown year on year. You can see that during the pandemic, actually, there was a little bit less music released, but really, in the last couple of years, huge growth year on year. And that data and that music, 112 new ISRCs we're receiving every day this year. It's an enormous amount of songs. There is a huge amount of new music. It's being uploaded onto DSPs. There's no way anyone can listen to that. And the majority is coming not from the majors, not from Universal, Sony, or Warner. It's coming from other distributors, from artists directly. And most importantly, a lot of it isn't being listened to at all. So this pyramid shows audio streams, of which we have 158 million different ISRCs. And in 2022, 24% of those had 0 streams. No one listened to that song. Almost a quarter of music that is out there on all of these DSPs, no one listened to, not even once. Not even the person that created it. 42% of tracks, that big purple but at the bottom, that's 42%, had 10 or fewer streams. So really, the amount of music that is actually genuinely earning any amount of revenue is that little orange piece right at the top. That's 1.9 million 1.9 million different ISRCs, really. And they're getting over 100,000 streams in a year. So there is a lot of music out there, a lot of it being added every single day, and not a lot of it that's really being streamed that much. Okay, so now, trend 4, we're going to move on to fans and superfans. The audience that everyone wants, the audience that are streaming at the very top of that pyramid. So, what is a superfan? A superfan is basically the consumer that is using art and music as one of these three things. They are over-indexing when it comes to spend, listening time, engagement, fandom. So they're fans because it sends a signal socially. They're part of a community, and it is a true expression of who they are and their identity. They are the kind of engaged consumer that you want. And obviously we hear a lot about them. We hear about all of the K-pop stans or Taylor Swift's fan base, or, you know, the large artists are very good at engaging with that fan base, but every artist can have a super fan. Pulling out some data here from some research that we did in the UK about entertainment and people that are engaged in entertainment, which I think is really interesting. It puts music in the context of broader entertainment. So you've got people that are engaging with music, with film, with TV, with gaming. When we ask them, are you a die-hard fan of one of those entertainment areas? Music is the one area where there are more die-hard fans than any of the others. Gaming is the area where there are more casual fans. People are like, yeah, I can play games on my mobile phone or something. But music is where people are really emotionally attached more than other areas. But TV is the area where they're spending the most time. And very importantly, gaming is the area where they are spending the most money. So this is average monthly spend across anything to do with music or gaming, including live. So that's not just your Spotify subscription. And gaming comes out at over double the amount that people are spending on music. Even though that is where they're saying there are more music fans, we're more engaged, we love it, we love music, we couldn't live without it. They're spending more on gaming. So, where is the music industry missing out? Well, these are a couple of areas. So, in the US, 31% of Gen Z, so that's that 13 to 24 age group, they wished there were more merch options, more ways of engaging with their artist and spending more money to support that artist to show that they're a superfan. Superfans are 3 times more likely to have bought vinyl, and as we well know, people that buy vinyl don't necessarily have a means of playing it. Only 50% of people actually own a record player that are buying vinyl. So they're spending money to show their fandom, to own that piece of content. So there are definitely areas that the music industry can invest in to make more money out of those people that want to spend. They want to give more money. And then finally, tech. Another area where the music industry is investing and where people want to engage more. But it's a complicated area with the consumer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share with you some of the research that we've done in this space on what the ordinary person in the street understands when we talk about things like the metaverse or NFTs and what they're looking for. So firstly, the metaverse. This is a study from the US, but we asked people, what do you think about the metaverse? And 51% of people, I don't understand the hype. 44% of people, I'm really confused by this. But then on the other hand, a significant number of people are thinking it's going to be part of daily lives or how they change their way of consuming entertainment. So what does the industry need to do for the metaverse to become successful? Affordability, always money plays a role in this, and understanding and things like government regulation and the ability to be anonymous and your friends, your peers, that kind of it being part of a broader community. All of those things are important if something is to go beyond the early stage tech. This is really cool. We're going to get the early adopters into the mainstream. Why should you care? Well, everyone in this room cares, otherwise they wouldn't be here. But these are just a couple of sentiments and statements that came out that were quite interesting. So 68% of people, of music listeners, already say that new technologies improve their listening experience. 39% have said that NFTs are a great way to directly support a musician. And 80% of consumers say that they want to try and attend a virtual concert in the metaverse. So we're caring because there is an audience out there, there is interest, there is engagement, and consumers value it. Another area which it would be remiss of me not to mention, and I've kind of put it into the tech area, is short-form video, so TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. An area which a couple of years ago wasn't really a thing, but I just want to show here how enormous this is now. So this is the percentage of the population in these regions that have engaged with short-form video, and that's either watching music videos, listening to music artists perform live, or following fan pages. And it's huge. You know, we're talking like 3/4 of the population pretty much globally are engaging with short-form video. So when it works, and it becomes mainstream. And then finally, the younger generation. So what are people doing right now? This is Gen Z and millennials. So this is the age group between anyone under 40, basically. The percentage of those people that are engaging with the metaverse, 10%, with generative AI, 12%, and even with music royalty investing, 6%. So there's a lot going on in this space, and people are already engaging, especially younger generations. So to summarize, I've thrown lots of numbers at you. From a streaming perspective, the numbers are great. Streaming is increasing. There's not necessarily more money, but there are more challenges in terms of dealing with that data and the discovery element. When it comes to fandom, there are people that absolutely love music and music fans, but there are lacking opportunities to spend even more money. And then from a tech perspective, I'm fascinated to hear the sessions that we're going to have this week, but the engagement is there on some level, and there is a huge potential for growth in the music and tech area. If you enjoyed this, another QR code. This is a good one. Not that the others aren't good. This one's good though, because next week we are releasing our mid-year report. We do one at the beginning of the year and then one halfway through. It is going to be chock full of some of these numbers, getting a bit of an exclusive, and lots of other numbers around the music industry and trends. And it's completely free. If you click on the QR code, you can sign up to get it the moment it's released. Thank you very much.